So the main theme that we're seeing is this idea of moving from efficiency to effectiveness with AI. And, it used to be all about how do I sort of use it efficiently, and now it's how do I use it effectively? The conversations that I'm certainly having are ones around, this is now an intelligence game. This is around what signals am I coming in that are differentiated for AI? How am I using AI to make strategic decisions? How am I using it to sort of drive long-term growth? And it's no longer about a tool. It's about actually how do I embed AI into this infrastructure of the way that I develop my brands and the way that I innovate. It is fair to say that consumers are skeptical about brands using AI. However, themselves are less skeptical. We see that 4 out of 5 people sort of globally have actually used AI in the last 6 months. So actually, it's not about them being skeptical. It's about skeptical about how the brands are using it. And if they don't use it in a way that the brand is it seems to be adding value to their lives. If they see it as a shortcut, you can see, you see something and it looks a bit generic, doesn't look real, then you're really sort of causing challenges for authenticity. I think consumers are, the challenge here is trust. I think they're quite skeptical about how are you going to use my data? And are you replacing that human connection I used to have with just a bot or some sort of AI? So I think they remain skeptical, but I think their use of AI is definitely moving forward. It is true to say that you see sort of more use of AI in early stage, sort of ideation and innovation. And the thing that needs to remain human is grounding ideas in human insight. That's really, really important. It's really important as well that you use human expertise to help you to identify. There's loads of ideas can be produced, but what are the good ones? How do I provide sort of clarity and direction and confidence that this is the right idea? I think as well you need to use humans in optimizing ideas. But that's not to say consumers don't know necessarily, or people don't know what they want, but they certainly can give you direction and optimization. And even if you're using AI as a tool to collect that sort of human insight, it's still important that you collect human insight and that you use human experts to translate that. Because what you're really wanting to do is help people to make braver decisions when they're innovating. But without that human judgment, you still need that human braveness to make that leap, using the data to make that judgment. So to give you sort of some tangibility around that, LLMs are really, really literal. So it would take the information such as, I might say I need a whole new wardrobe for Cannes, which obviously I'd love to have a whole new wardrobe for Cannes, but obviously can't afford one. But in actual fact, what sort of humans are able to do is collect the nuance and the meaning behind that and say, well, actually, it's not that she wants to afford one, it's actually she needs to recurate her wardrobe. And it's just that sort of meaning, it brings that meaning. So hopefully that brings that to life for you. So it is fair to say that, we are at risk of the sea of sameness. In fact, AI makes that even worse because you can use the same prompts, the same models, you're going to get the same data. It's all very generic. We are potentially at risk of brands sort of losing their creativity, but I think it's less about creativity. It's more about differentiation. What you really need to think about is how you use AI to drive differentiation and how you also use your understanding of your brands to stop you being in the sea of sameness. If you really understand the strength of what your brand stands for, you've got really strong consumer insight, then you put yourself in a position to get better, what we call the meaningfully different sort of innovations, meaningfully different ideas that help you drive brand growth. And they're not just ideas that are nice to have for a brand, they're ideas that really, really use innovation as a lever to drive long-term growth. The secret to true sustainable innovation, if you really want to get the best out of AI, is really using it to look for different signals. Get it to look at cultural tensions, needs, and in a way that's right for your brand, and use that as a lens through which to view the world. Use your brand strength to drive that forward. And then I think you really do move yourself forward from being, as we were talking about before, the sea of sameness, into something that's truly differentiating. I think my best piece of advice is you can't prompt your way to great innovation. What you need to do is, rather than ask an LLM give me an idea, what you need to do is turn that around, and you need to do what we call agents, and you need them to go out and get you good cultural information, good behavioral information, information on how to drive behavior change. And if you go and get that quality information and you build your innovations from strong insights and you use that data to build confidence as you develop that innovation through the business and sell it through the business, you end up in a much better sort of situation. And it's really important. I think the advice is think about being meaningfully different. How do I meet needs in a way that's different from the competition? That North Star will help you to innovate in a way that is differentiated from your competitors.